carrying over into consumer confidence in the form of spending. Have you seen that in your stores?
Well, we have a little different situation. I mean, we have, first of all, an extraordinarily strong consumer. I mean, our consumer is gainfully employed, seeing higher wages, equity balances, and then the highest store value for our customer is their home. 80% of our customers own their home, and they've seen tremendous appreciation in their home since 2019, as much as 50% increase in home values. So our customer has a store of value. They're staying in that home, it's aging, and they want to take on, they tell us they want to take on projects, but they're still just a little bit uncertain with the overall economy, what's going to happen with tax rates, what's going to happen with inflation, and ultimately interest rates. But there's building up a pent-up demand, if you will, for these larger remodel projects.
Does resurgent inflation scare you more? Would you like rates just to be cut for housing, or do you still worry about inflation not being totally conquered? And you should know, probably.
Well, I think, again, what translates into a mortgage rate would be the thing that we're most interested in, or HELOC rates. So there's $11 trillion of tappable equity in U.S. housing. The store of value of the entire U.S. housing market is over $45 trillion. 11 trillion of that is available for withdrawals to fund larger remodel projects. We used to see something like 80 or even $100 billion a quarter of HELOC withdrawal, a lot of that going into home improvement projects. That's down to like $20 billion.
But with lumber and all the other stuff that you must be one of the largest providers of lumber. You know about commodity prices long before anybody else does.
And those have come down. So
is the genie back in the bottle?
Yeah.
Can we relax on inflation?
I think on goods and what we're seeing in our business and pressure from our supplier partners, we are well past, we've digested that rapid increase in prices.
So you're lower rates, you're ready.
Well,
you're ready for
We're ready.
Does the threat of tariffs change that picture? How much of the goods that you're bringing in are coming from overseas?
That could. So we're sourced, over half of our product is sourced in North America, but we certainly get a good bit from Asia and China in particular. We've been through this before with the tariffs that were imposed in 2017, 25% tariffs in a good percentage of our goods. And we work through that. We work with our supplier partners, we work with our supply chains, trying to make sure we can still bring the best value on shelf for our customers. Our suppliers have done a meaningful job of diversifying out of China in the last 4 or 5 years, but there is still a significant base of manufacturing of our type product in China. Too early to tell what will happen there, but we think with our merchants and our supplier partners in particular, we're the scale player. Any tariff that would happen would be broadly dispersed across our industry, and I'd bet on our team to be able to manage through that the best. The thing that we're much more interested in is corporate tax rates. Mm-hmm. Home Depot is one of the absolute largest in nominal terms, highest payer of corporate taxes. Some quarters, in fact, we are the single highest payer of taxes in the United States. So keeping that rate down at 21%, or even some talk of that rate going lower, is terrific for our business, because we use that windfall, if you will, back in 17 of lower corporate rates to reinvest in the business. We're building new stores again. We're the only player in our industry, and really big box in the United States of any nature, who are building stores.
What do you think would be? Don't call it a windfall, Ted, please. No. Elizabeth Warren's watching.
Well, what would be a good rate? I mean, obviously zero would be a good rate. But but when you think about this just rationally and fairly, what do you think is the right place?
I mean, stability probably matters as much as anything, and if we would just have stability with the rates 21. We're at today, that would be fine. Lower would be fine as well. Every investment we make, we measure on an after-tax cash flow return on the capital deployed. So with lower rates, you can fund more projects.
How much of the taxes shifting? I mean, obviously, it clearly shifted in 17 for you. But in terms of your long-term planning, when you guys sit around and say, okay, what's the plan for 25, 26, 27, 28? When does that meeting happen for you, where you say, okay, we have different tax rates now? And then the other question is, how much of that rate do you say, okay, that's going to go to the bottom line, and that part we're going to invest, and that part, like, when does that happen for you?
Well, we always scenario play different rates for sure, but we don't look at our investments. Taxes don't determine our investment profile. We're always looking at how we can improve the business, how we can grow the business, and make the required investments. So I wouldn't say taxes influence the bulk of our investment decisions, but certainly on the margin, if you're looking at a particular investment of, say, a single store, and you're very close to a hurdle rate of that single store making sense, a tax rate could come into that picture for sure.
Hey, Ted, I would assume that you guys are planning as if tariffs are going to come in. We've heard reports of other people bringing in as many things as they can to the United States ahead of January. Are you doing that?
We're not really doing that. We're so far ahead in our cycles. So like all the holiday products here, the stores are set, our gift centers are set. We just signed off yesterday on our 2026 patio program. So we're so far ahead. We're not gonna jump through hoops on a short term cargo.
Are you doing longer term planning for what you could do?
Absolutely, and we're working scenario planning with our supplier partners. Again, we've seen a good bit of diversification. We've seen about of the sourcing that has moved out of China in the last, again, 5, 6, 7 years. We see about a third has gone to other countries in Southeast Asia. A third has gone into Mexico, and a third has come back into the United States even. So,
we should bring up the passing this past week of someone who was a friend of the show, but obviously one of your founders, someone who was very important, Bernie Marcus.
Yes, Bernie Marcus. Funeral was last week, and what just an absolute giant of a man. What he did for Home Depot, the state of Georgia, in the country, in the world, in fact, in total is just a remarkable life. We're forever indebted to Bernie. He left us with really what is the core backbone of our company. That's our culture and our values, and those will live on forever. And we're just incredibly grateful to have had the time with him. But it was a very emotional week for the Home Depot family last week. And thank you for asking.
You had a very appropriate send-off for him too. I think you all.
Well, we're orange-blooded, and I should have maybe worn my orange apron today.
Not the tie.
But one of the most remarkable things last week, we had hundreds of tenured associates in Atlanta line the road into the temple and then later into the cemetery to the gravesite. And it was just such an outpouring of love for truly one of the great Americans of all time.
And you are here honoring another one of your founders, Ken Langone, who is another friend of the show.
We're just blessed. I mean, each of Arthur Blank and Bernie Marcus and Ken Langone have given back so much to the community. Arthur Blank, the new children's hospital in Atlanta, just opened a few weeks ago. This is a brand new bespoke Arthur M. Blank Children's Hospital that opened in September. And you all in New York know how much Ken does with NYU Langone. And we're ribbon cutting later this morning a new ambulatory center in Brooklyn. So Ken will be there, and some of the Home Depot team will be there to support him.
Please give him our best.
Absolutely.
We're glad to hear this too. So on the lighter side of things, we've watched Skelly, the huge skeletons that took over, not just for Halloween at this point. I see some of them still around with Santa Claus hats on. These are these giant skeletons that some people keep out year-round at this point.
Yes.
To decorate them for the coming holidays.
I think we have much more marketing benefit with Skelly than actual sales benefit. But one of the funniest stories I've heard about Skelly is there was a customer sent a letter that his HOA is always asking him to take him down because you can only have the Skelly up for any given season, decorations for so many days of any given holiday. So he just rolls through. He'll put a red on him for Valentine's Day. He'll put green on him for St. Patrick's Day. So he's like, I'm in compliance with my HOA, but Skelly stays
HOA.
up.
That's the way to go with it.
Yeah.
How big of a decorating season is the holiday season? I know you've got Santa Clauses and Disney characters.
Yeah. So Not as meaningful for Home Depot. Our Christmas, if you will, is in the spring.
Okay.
But our merchant team has built a tremendous decorative holiday business in Halloween, but then also for the Christmas season with trees and lights and animated characters. We have great programs with Disney characters and our own sort of bespoke internal private branded
Ted,
product.
how long have you been at Home Depot?
2.5 years.
Almost 25.
Oh, 25.
Oh,
Okay.
in this
Yeah.
role, I thought, yeah.
Because there was a time when, and speaking of Ken, he's very shy and doesn't really talk a lot, but the stock's almost at an all-time high, and it's been one of the greatest success stories. I mean, I can't believe Sam Walton, another amazing person, in his lifetime, he built Walmart. And the same goes for Home Depot. But there was a period where Ken was really angry at some of the management. I'm not going to mention who it was at the time. But Home Depot had lost its way. Do you historically know what happened in that rough spot and how to avoid it from happening next time? Do you remember the period I'm talking about?
Well, Ken would tell you he never has sold a share. So he's held that equity. He is the biggest supporter of ours. I mean, Ken,
do you remember what I'm talking about, though? Do you remember that period?
We had
a supply company that didn't work out. There were I think even some of the employees, the same Home Depot spirit wasn't there or something.
Well,
how did the company lose its way, and how do you prevent that from happening?
The key for us and what we keep front and center truly are the values of the company. We have two symbols on our apron. We have a values wheel, things like giving back and doing the right thing and respect for all people. And then our leadership principles are inverted pyramid, where you think of an organization where the leaders are at the top and the troops, if you will, are on the bottom. The founders inverted that, and the leadership team is on the bottom. And our responsibility is to support our associates, our frontline associates. As long as we remember that and never forget that, and every time I talk to Ken, that's how he ends the conversation. He says, Ted, don't forget about the kids in the store.
I'm going to call him and ask him who it was. I think it might have been, as I said, I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm going to call. You remember? Yeah. What happened? What was how did the...
It's turned around.
I know it has now.
Right back to the focus.
Frank had a lot to do with that.
Frank Blake is magic.
He's almost a savior.
Yeah,
almost.
wonderful, wonderful guy. And Craig Menear as well, just terrific leaders.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, Ted, we can't thank you enough for coming in here. We do appreciate your time, and we'll hope you come
being
back.
so tactful.
Thank you.
Not throwing anyone under
Thank
the
you
bus.
so much. And also two plugs. So new store in 61st and First. We relocated our store.
Big deal
in
for
the
us city
Bloomberg,
folk.
In the
Oh, yeah, you do a lot of that.
It is a big deal for us city folk.
How'd that new bathroom you put in go? Is that everything working well?
Got to call the contractors.
I need one where I can step into it. Have you seen those?
No.
Bathtub where you open a door to step in.
Oh, yeah. So you could take. So what's the other?
You'll see.
The reload 61st and First, and then our Brooklyn store in Hamilton Avenue is reopened as well.
Yeah.
So
my team likes that store a lot.
We don't. Yeah, your team. We don't even feel comfortable in Lowe's, which is a lot easier to go into than.
I wouldn't feel comfortable there either.
Well, I don't.
Okay. Thank you for being here. We'll see you at 61st Street and First. And good luck later today with Ken.